Hey there, this is the Top Floor Please podcast, where women in leadership rise together. I'm your host, Melissa McCormick, executive coach and founder of the Grace and Salt Leadership Academy. This is your space to find clarity, grow in confidence, and lead with bold authenticity. Whether you're navigating the boardroom, building your team, or stepping into new territory, you're not alone. Let's talk real challenges, real growth, and real leadership, because the top floor isn't just a place, it's a mindset. All right, let's get started.
All right, welcome back. And I'm super excited to continue our discussion on delegation. And this is the second podcast in this delegation series. So this one is, you're struggling to let go, question mark. The four phases of delegation made simple. I think it's super important for us to really focus on delegation. It's something that is an art and we have to practice it. It's a muscle memory. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I have an Elvis Presley shirt on today, so I'm very excited. This is a gift from some friends of mine when they were down in Memphis, and I love it. So anyway, I just thought I'd point that out. So for those of you who don't know me, you've heard the intro of Grace and Salt Leadership Academy, but I'm Melissa McCormick. I am the founder and CEO of Grace and Salt Leadership Academy. We are an online group coaching program, and we help women find their voice. Now, I've had people say, but Melissa, this is kind of, the information that you share, is it just for women? Well, I have women in my mind because that's who I am, and that's just who I serve. But this podcast is actually relevant for everyone. So I hope I've got some really great guys that are listening as well. So let's just talk a little bit about delegation. So the last episode, I introduced you to a mindset reframe, right? The gift of delegation, that really we need to be thinking about it as a gift because it opens up, not only it frees you of time, but it develops the other person, and it also frees you up so that you can develop and grow into, work your way up to meet your goals as well. So as we talk about this gift of delegation and how to do it, like I'm just going to throw it at so and so. No, because most of us who are high performers and we really driven, we're kind of control freaks. That is one of the traits that we all kind of have. I mean, it's dangerous when you say always or never or those kinds of words, right? Those are words that, especially if you're in a relationship and you say, well, you always do this. Do I really? Do I really do it every single time? No, probably not. So it's dangerous when I say all, like all driven people or all high performers. But most, typically speaking, most of us are control freaks because we have certain high level of expectations and not everyone can meet those. So we need to be sure before we're delegating to the right people. Now, having said that, you may be delegating to somebody who is a high performer or they have the potential to be a high performer, but they need experience. You were once new too, right? So these are firsts for everyone. So I just want to open up with this very simple quote. And I'm sure you've heard it. And it is, give a person a fish, feed them for a day. Teach a person to fish and feed them for a lifetime. That is a Chinese proverb. I did some research on it when I was writing my book, Grace and Salt, and I love it. And it really epitomizes delegation. So it's all about teaching people to fish, and so that they can then take ownership of that responsibility and make it their own and move on. And that frees you up and it develops them all at the same time. But we don't want to just throw the fish at them, right? We do not just want to throw it at them. We want to be sure that you are setting them up for success, because if you want something to come back to you so fast, it's when you delegate it, they don't do it right. And then the boss says, you know how you wanted so and so to do that? Not anymore. They don't do it quite right, so I want you to do it instead of maybe focusing on that person and trying to teach them. It's going to come back to you. So you need to be sure that when you're delegating, you are delegating so it sticks, okay? Which means you are going to it's going to take time. And that's kind of, it's a challenge for all of us as well. Because as we talked last podcast, sometimes we don't delegate because we think it's quicker, easier, faster for me to do it myself. I mean, it's only going to take me a couple minutes. Research shows that it's not just a couple minutes because you have to get into it, you're sending it, and then you've lost an opportunity. So there's opportunity costs that you've lost because you could have been doing something else. And it takes you 15, 20 minutes to get back into whatever it was that you should have been doing. Does that make sense? I certainly hope that it does. So I'm going to dig into phase one of delegation. So phase one is you're following my system exactly. So this is building trust. And that's really what the whole phases of delegation is about is levels of trust. I want to trust you and that you are doing it the way that you're supposed to do it every time. Like the output is going to be the same so that I can be comfortable to let it go. That's really what we're talking about here. So the first phase is follow my system exactly. Okay. So what does that mean? Whatever it is that you are delegating, whether it's a process or whether it's a decision or whether it's a report, whatever it might be, it could be a relationship. I want you to follow and I'm speaking to about the person who is delegating, right? I want you to follow my system. And so that means you have to spend time with that person. You can't just dump it off. You have to schedule it. You have to be diligent. You have to be intentional. You have to communicate properly. It's not so much that you're talking, but so that they understand what you're saying. And I don't know that I'm going to go into this now, but there are 6 phases of communication. And so, just to boil it down into a couple sentences, what I say, I want to be sure you heard the way I intended it. So, I need to be sure that you're receiving it the way I want you to receive it. Make sense? Yeah. So when you're communicating whatever it is, when you're training, because that's what you're doing, when you're training this person how to do this task, you need to be sure that you're clear, that you're open to questions, and that you're taking time. This is not hey, depending on the complexity of whatever it is that you are delegating, it might be something simple, but it might not be. So depending on that complexity, it might take more time. So you have to have a plan. Totally have to have a plan. All right, the second phase is I want you to create the system and I'll approve it. Okay, so first system, follow my system. Second system, they do it and then they run it by you before it goes to the next step. For example, um, I am going to delegate sending a sales email. Okay, so it's going to be a follow-up sales email, and I'm going to delegate it to one of my team members. So I'm going through the process of what template do I use? How do I determine what to say? How do I determine what product I'm going to include in here? How do I determine whether this is an in-person discussion or a virtual discussion or telephone discussion? All of those things are given to the person. We've got standard operating procedures that we've written out, right? Maybe there's pictures, maybe there's videos, those kinds of things. Do not just say, hey, I did a video on it, go watch it. Again, depending on the severity, if it's a simple thing, okay, fine. But I still wouldn't say that. I still would walk through it with the person so that you make sure they truly do understand 2 things. They understand what it is the expectations that you have for them to perform, what does success look like, but also so that they know they're supported. They know that if they screw up, you've got their back. Okay, that's very important. And I would outline these phases like, okay, for the next week or so, you're going to shadow me. All right, then we're turning it over where you're going to do it. So, this is the second phase. They're going to create the system, they're going to do the process. But before they send it to the next step or before they actually hit the send button to the customer, you get the boss or the person delegating reviews it. Okay, that's building more trust because first time they do it, you're probably going to go, I wouldn't have exactly said it that way. I think it should be this way because da 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 da, something that they're probably not thinking about because you want to shorten the learning curve as well. You want to shorten that learning curve of mistakes as well. So that's second phase. Third phase is I want you to make a decision based on company values, real time, and then advise me afterwards. Okay, so this is your letting way go, right? So you're letting go. So in this case, it's okay, so they sent the email and the customer came back and asked a question. But you've gone through all those questions that they could possibly ask. And so now it's at a point where they are saying, okay, yep, I responded to the customer, but they're coming back to you just to say, hey, just so you know, I went to XYZ customer. This is what they asked. This is what I told them. We good? Does that align with everything? And you want to make sure that it aligns with company values and all of that. Because I find that empowering employees and creating autonomy and the confidence for being empowered, right? That's scary. And it's not easy for everyone. Some people are like, oh yeah, I'm a risk taker. I can do it because I trust that that my boss has my back. Other people are like, I don't know. I don't know if I can do that. I really want validation before I send it. Well, with the folks like that, we have to spend some extra time to say, okay, here's our company values. I trust you. I trust that you're going to make the right decision based on these company values and based on working together over the last couple months on this particular situation. It's okay. Go do. But just let me know so that I'm not blindsided. Let me know in case the customer isn't really appreciating of what you're saying and they're going to come back to me. Okay? Because then if they come back to you and you go, oh, I wouldn't have done that, it allows time for this person to go back and say, hey, just so we've been thinking through this and I'm sorry, that didn't make much sense. We're going to do this instead. Or it could be like, yeah, congratulations. That's fantastic. It's exactly what I would have done. Again, building trust. The fourth step is you're done. I trust you. I trust you to make the best decision for the company, and I don't need to know about it. Okay? So those are the four steps, four phases of delegation. They're not really steps, they're phases because some are going to be longer phase than others, right? So first phase, follow my system. Second phase, I want you to do it and I'll approve it before, it hits prime time. Third one is you're going to make the decisions based on company values, based on our process, all of that kind of stuff. You're going to figure it out and then you're going to tell me. And then the fourth way is you're just going to do it. And guess what? You own it and you don't have to tell me, right? If something happens crazy later on, then fine, then we'll address it. But for the most part, you own it. I don't even want to know. And that's really hard. So I've got some tips, right? Those are the four phases. This podcast is going to go a little bit longer than normal because I didn't want to separate this piece into its own because I just didn't think it was a standalone podcast. But there's some things that I want you to remember. And the first one is that delegation takes time. It isn't something that you're going to be able to delegate today and by next Monday, you'll be through all four phases. Regardless of how complicated it is, you really need to go through all four phases because there's a trust issue. You don't want to let it go and say, okay, she's going to do that, and then continually check on that person to be sure that they're doing it properly. That's when we become micromanagers and we get that reputation of being a micromanager, which honestly, there's probably people out in the world that do like to be a micromanager, but I think most of us don't. We just fall into that trap because we have a trust issue. Number two is the second thing I want you to remember is I want you to remember to rinse and repeat. It takes practice. This is not something, it takes practice for the person who's being delegated to, and it takes practice for the person who is delegating. All right. And so having that open conversation between the two of you is important. It's important for you to tell that person, hey, I might fall back into my old habits and you have permission to stop me. That could be hard, especially if you're the boss, right? The other thing is that not everyone wants additional responsibility. So depending on the situation is going to depend on how you're going to approach that person. Like if they just really like, I'm good with what I'm doing. And the answer is sorry, this is now your responsibility. You're going to figure out how to say it to them so that they accept it and don't feel like you're dumping. And if they don't want the additional responsibility, you need to help them understand that this is for them to grow. Even though they don't want to, they will be much better on the other side of it. So you have to figure all of that out in advance, right? And then the other thing is to communicate the reason why you're delegating. Remember my boss? We talked about my boss, right? What he would do is he would he would forward email or excuse me voicemails to me and then just not tell me why he was forwarding to them, and it was very frustrating. But once I learned, and I don't even think he ever told me this, I believe I just one day it was a aha moment that, oh, now I get why he's doing this. I think he may have told me eventually, I want you to communicate the reason up front. I don't want there to be any doubt. I don't want there to be any drama. I don't want there to be any kind of question mark in that person's mind as to what your intentions are. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope it certainly does. And I want you to look inside. I want you to think, am I extending trust? Okay? As you're going through those four phases, are you extending trust? What does that mean? That means, am I empowering that other person and I'm not pulling it back? Okay, that happens. Bosses do that. So, I'm saying bosses, I'm speaking to bosses. Yeah, it's true. But I'm also speaking to people who need to delegate things to colleagues. Like bosses need to delegate things to colleagues. Middle managers need to delegate things to other people, either people that report to them or people who don't report to them but are in other departments. And then there is the general workforce who needs to delegate to other people as well. So I'm talking to all of those people. And so when I ask you, are you extending trust? That's exactly what I'm asking. Are you in phase one and you're stuck there? And the person's going, I get it. I'm not an idiot. We can move on. Can I do this myself? In fact, sometimes we learn better when we do it ourselves, right? Make sense? So are you stuck in phase one? Are you stuck in phase two? When are you going to extend trust once and for all? And I want you to think about this. Um, I want you to write on a sticky note, WPC. Now, if you've heard me talk for a while, you know what it means and you know the story behind it. I am not going to share the story with you today. You're just going to have to maybe just how about this? Send me a note and ask me what the story is behind it. But WPC stands for worst possible consequence. So as you're delegating and you're trying to extend trust, but you're really struggling with it, I want you to think WPC. What's the worst possible consequence if I turn this over to this person and they mess up? What's the worst thing that can happen? Did somebody die? Probably not. Did we lose a ton of money? Probably not. Did we lose a big customer? Probably not. Like those things can, we can recover from them. People make mistakes and we learn best from our mistakes. So just be thinking about those types of just the when we're going through um, um, when you're thinking about your delegation and whether you're really if you're stuck, like if it's going a little bit too far. Okay, I'm going way deeper than I anticipated going, but I just want you to think about that. So think about WPC. Okay. All right. Let's move on. And I'm going to wrap this thing up now. So we've talked about the four phases of delegation, and then I've given you some things to think about as well. Totally takes time. Now, what I want you to do is, if this resonates with you at all, I want you to check out my digital course. So I have a digital course that we talk about how to delegate, what to delegate, who to delegate, putting a communication plan together. It goes into all different things. And so the link to the course so you can see the sales page, so you can kind of get an idea of what's in it, then it is in, and I'm pointing down because I think that's where the show notes will go, but the link is somewhere on this podcast that you can go to, or you can always go to my email. No, not my email, my website, graceandsaltleadership.com. So I'm going to leave you with this: the secret to your success, okay? The secret to your success when you delegate is that delegation is critical to your future, to your future career, to your future freedom. It is to your future unstressed life, right? Delegation is critical to your future. Delegation takes time. Delegation empowers and develops others. And finally, delegation requires constant and consistent communication. All right, that is what we've got for today. So I'm just going to wrap that up. And again, please, if you want to learn more, please check out my digital course on delegation, wherever that button is. And I think you'll enjoy it. And it's pretty, and it'll be valuable. It'll help you. If you have any other questions on delegation that I have not addressed today, or you've gone through my digital course and you want to know more about XYZ, please tell me, because these podcasts, these two podcasts that I'm doing, are because I had people ask me about delegation. So I took that and put it on my list. So if you have some leadership challenge that you would like me to address, please tell me. You can DM me on Facebook, on LinkedIn. You can email me. You can all my contact information is out online. So go find it and let me know. I would love to hear from you. All right, everyone, you have a fantastic day. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for hanging out on the top floor. If today's episode gave you something to think about or a little boost, share it with your friend and keep the momentum going. And hey, if you're ready to find your voice and lead with clarity and confidence, check out the Esther Project. It's our foundational program at Grace and Salt, and it's built for women like you who are ready to rise. You can learn more at graceandsaltleadership.com. I'll drop the link in the show notes, and remember, you don't have to lead like everyone else, just lead like you. All right, I'll see you next time.